Hello. Hello and welcome, everybody. I'm Jen Gray, Artistic Director Forward. Welcome to another Tuesdays with Forward conversation. I'm really looking forward to this evening's discussion. We've been excited to invite representatives from some of the youth theater groups that have been coping with the same challenges facing all of us arts organizations and some very special challenges unique to youth theater organizations. So we have with us, we've got Erica Berman from Children's Theater of Madison. We've got Seamus Fleischman and Zoe Yandel, who both work with Young Shakespeare Players. And it's very possible that at some point during this conversation, we'll be joined by Susan Nanning Sorensen from First Act Children's Theater. We're live, hooray. So I thought we could just start. I'll let each of you introduce yourselves. For anyone who's listening live right now and following along, please feel free to put questions for any of these fabulous people into the chat box, and Scott, the fabulous Scott Hayden, will make sure that we see those and can answer those questions while we are here and live. So I'll just start going in order on my screen. Erica, you are Director of Education. Is that your title? At Children's Theater of Madison. So tell us a little bit about what you do with CTM.
Sure. So I actually have a lot of different hats that I wear at CTM. So Director of Education and Community Engagement is the long title, and I'm an artistic associate. So what that means, as Director of Education, I oversee all of our educational initiatives. This includes classes both at CTM and out in the community. I oversee our programs within the schools, so Young Playwrights and some other in-school residencies. We have many educational programs year-round for young people. So that's the Director of Education side. The Director of Community Engagement side is any community initiatives that we do. We have strong partnerships with many companies all over the city. And so part of my role is to facilitate those. One example is our partnership with CI Pediatric Therapy Center and ACT, where we do our sensory-friendly performances for youth on the autism spectrum or neurodiverse families. And then the last hat that I wear is an artistic associate, and that means I'm fortunate enough to be in a cohort with our artistic director, Roseanne Sheridan, which includes having one artistic project each year. Usually I direct one show a year, but it can be something different as well, and have a hand in season selection, etc. I'm also the staff liaison for our Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee. So that's sort of my larger role within CTM.
And nothing going on.
Yeah, not busy at all.
Great. So Seamus, tell us about the role that you play with Young Shakespeare Players.
Well, so I am what they call intern director, which pretty much means that I do all the, and Zoe as well, we do the hands-on work with all the kids and the actors. And then we have Richard DePrimer, who's like the artistic director, and he gets us all the materials, and we just kind of make sure that the ship runs smoothly for however long it needs to without turning into complete chaos.
That is no small feat. Zoe, is there anything that you want to add about?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. We basically just run rehearsals day to day. If we need to recast a role, we'll talk with the kids and figure that out. And we work with Richard and Jacob and the other directors to solve any problems that might come up.
Fantastic. So as we're going to kind of talk tonight about how you're adapting what you would normally do for these really, strange new circumstances. Erica, tell us about what CTM's been doing this summer, and you had to really pivot. We've all had to pivot, but boy, on a dime to be ready for the summer season.
Yes, so absolutely. So in terms of summer stage, we really had, the biggest question was, do we do it or not? And if we are going to do it, what's the best way to move forward? And we, no pun intended, forward. And so
that never happens.
Shout out, yeah. So we decided, yes, we wanted to go on with summer stage. We wanted to provide an opportunity for young people to use their creativity this summer, to connect with other students. I think this social distancing can be really isolating for all of us, but especially young people. One of our theater directors at the end of one of our first 3-week programs said that he couldn't imagine having his high school theater program not there during his high school days, because it's so vital to youth, who are theater kids, to be in theater and doing theater. So then the question became, okay, well, if we're going to do virtual programs, we want to offer the same high quality programs we would offer in person, but in a virtual medium. And the ethos of what we decided to do was to lean fully into that, right? There's sort of that grief, right? We can't be together. How sad it is we can't be together. Theater happens, people breathing in a room together. And instead we decided to say, what can this Zoom offer us? How can we lean into this medium in a way that can be exciting? And this is what we have right now. So how can we own up to what we have and explore more? So working with camera angles and your frame, students have a lot of agency right now, learning more about directing, how to use the camera. So there's all these wonderful skills and tools that the students wouldn't necessarily have had before. So we're trying to celebrate the joys that it brings while also acknowledging the loss that we're all feeling. In terms of supports and offering high quality programs, CTM is a TYA company, which stands for Theater for Young Audiences. So we're part of a national greater organization. And our artistic leadership, Roseanne Sheridan and Alan Ebert, as well as myself, are on weekly calls with other people doing our jobs from all over the country. So it's so helpful to have these tools. So we're all learning together. So in terms of lesson planning for different programs, tips and tricks on how to turn Zip Zap Zop into Zip Zap Zoom, all of things like that. We had really wonderful conversations on a national level as well. And our first programs are just, we started, maybe June 22nd, 21st, sometime around there. And just today, a parent emailed me and said that her daughter has renewed purpose and a renewed sense of connection after these programs. And there's really no higher praise. So that's sort of the story of CTM's evolution, leaning into this new platform during these times.
Great, thank you. And then with Young Shakespeare Players, and I don't know if the folks listening know as much about YSP, which has been around for over 40 years, right? It's been here for...
Yeah, I think it's over 40 now.
Yeah, and full disclosure that my daughter is doing her second YSP show right now, working with you guys. So I'm aware of all of the different ways that the leaders of Young Shakespeare Players thought about doing things this summer, because I was on the email chain saying, well, we might do this and we might do that. So describe, actually, Zoe, maybe you could start by just describing a little bit about what Young Shakespeare Players does, like in general, not related specifically to COVID.
Okay. So Young Shakespeare Players puts on full-length, uncut Shakespeare plays with children ages, I think our youngest kid in this production is 6 maybe to 18. And we also put on Shaw plays, Dickens plays. We have focused workshops where a smaller group of actors gets together and really gets into one aspect of Shakespeare's language that he uses to express all these ideas that we have in the plays. But our main programming are these full-length plays that we will, during the summer, we'll rehearse for the entire summer and then perform at the end. Yeah.
Wonderful. So Seamus, describe how YSP has approached this specific summer. And I know that Midsummer Night's Dream is the show this year. And how are you adapting to deal with safety concerns and everything?
Well, it was a bit of a process, I think, to get to where we are currently. The first group that had to deal with COVID-related changes to the schedule was our East Coast branch in Massachusetts, and they were all on Zoom. So when it was announced that, yes, we are continuing to do shows in the summer, despite the obstacles, that we would also do it on Zoom. And then we announced that and 6 people signed up. So we said if we do it in person, what will happen? And suddenly we had enough people to do a show. So we were like, that seems like the way to make this happen is we have to do it in person, which then led to another series of obstacle solving. Currently, we are mostly rehearsing outside with everyone far apart from each other, and everyone is masked. So we're really getting used to using the mask.
Yeah, we also have to split into much smaller groups than we're used to rehearsing with. But that allows people to spread out quite a bit more.
Mm-hmm. We're stuck in no matter what happens, we're staying to 10 people to like a room or 10 people to the yard or something like. So it's gonna stay very small.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you guys are in a microcosm dealing with a lot of the issues that we're all talking about in terms of school coming up in the fall. Erica, so tell me, I know you shared that really lovely call from a parent earlier today, but how are the kids working with CTM, adapting? How are they responding to the offerings?
It's been pretty incredible. I mean, I will say overall, our enrollment has dwindled quite a bit during this time. I think, it's a risk, it's hard signing up for something that you don't know or you don't understand or, you're not sure how it will work. But the feedback we're getting is just incredible. I've been visiting a lot of classes, popping into Zoom rooms, and the sense of camaraderie. We do a 10-minute kind of a breakfast time, so students can log in 10 minutes early just to have community with each other and chat before the teaching artists log on to start the day. We finished Pippin, which had 10 students, and 6 of them signed up for High School Musical the next week. So that, I think, is a real testament to just the bonds, the sense of creativity, aliveness, the way that theater can make you feel. It's possible through this medium. And we all know that this is temporary. This is not a medium we'll be in forever, but certain things, who knows? I did an orientation video for the first time ever. Usually I did orientations live, and I thought, oh, an orientation video, that might be a good time saver in the future, and parents can watch it at their own leisure, and it could be something they engage with when they want to. So I feel like there might be some learnings, going forward, but in general, we're going to want to be back in a room together. But for the time being, I think the response we're getting from the people who are taking the chance, who are signing up, has been overwhelmingly positive. A lot of, I didn't know what to expect, but wow, this has been incredible for my child, or for me, as the case may be. So.
Susan, welcome.
I was having some difficulty with the internet and trying to get on, so I apologize.
No worries. Well, let's, your timing is beautiful. Why don't you introduce yourself, first of all, just what your role is with First Act, and describe the kind of work that First Act does.
Sure. Well, my name is Susan Nanning Sorensen, and I am the owner and artistic director of First Act Children's Theater. And we work with children entering first grade through college, going off to college as our oldest group. And everything we do is children performing by children for children. So we have educational classes throughout the year of all kinds. I guess that's a kind of a rough.
Absolutely.
In there.
So I'm catching you up on a couple of questions we were already discussing with the other groups. So tell us how you pivoted as COVID became a big part of our reality as arts producers.
Right. Well, it caught everybody unaware, and we were in the middle of our 10-week. Normally we do 10-week programs with our kids where we are teaching them all kinds of theater techniques, including scenic design, prop making, some knowledge about costumes, and all while they're doing a play. And we culminate in a performance at the end of the 10 weeks. But we had to go online, so we moved everything to online. It was a little bit tricky because we normally have a 1st to 8th grade group that we work with, and trying to cover that age range virtually was a big challenge for us in the spring. But we kept going, and we ended up doing a showcase. Our older kids did a radio program. So they were doing an old-fashioned radio broadcast show for spring. And then this summer, we've really had to make a lot of changes, trying to do some virtual camps and some little mini camps. And normally we have very, very large 50 students in a summer camp production. So those were all closed down, and they're showing on our broadcast a little bit of the virtual classes that we're doing this summer. And we're looking forward to a really exciting virtual program this fall. So we've been working hard designing that.
Great. So your programs this summer, are they all virtual, or are you doing some small in person?
We are doing some in-person camps. We're calling them mini camps. They are kind of what we call our drama quest style, where we give them a kind of a structure, an idea, and then the kids write their own show and create their own piece. So we're doing that with just 8 students at a time. And those are our mini in-person camps. And then the other things we're offering are virtual. So we're trying to stay in that rule with 8 students and then 2 staff, and we'll be performing outside so they can each invite 2 guests, and that's the 24-person max right there.
Right. So. And how are the students adapting?
I think they'll be fine. We are just starting these because we shut down our June thing, so this just started, and so far so good. They're doing fine. We have some clear shields they used for performance, and the cloth face masks and things. The kids are pretty adaptable. They roll fairly well. Virtual has been a lot of fun. I think the more we do it, the more we learn, and the more they adapt to it. So if anything, I find that's a little easier than trying to be in person and wearing masks.
Yeah,
that's a challenge for the kids.
Sure. How are Zoe? How are the students doing with all of these new procedures this summer?
Well, overall, they're doing quite well. We've had a couple moments where kids were having trouble, like staying distanced and having some issues, but overall, everybody's been really great about adopting these new protocols. I mean, it's stuff they're starting to have to learn to do through all areas of life, not just in YSP. So it's just becoming the new normal for a lot of us.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, here's a question from Charlotte saying, I wish we could do our first act play. We're reading the Narnia books right now to get ready. Hi, Charlotte. Mm-hmm. Charlotte's the child of Samara, who's on Forward staff. So, yeah, I want to see that too. So Seamus, do you know yet what plans are being worked on for the fall with YSP, or is that still very much up in the air?
It is pretty much completely up in the air, although that is not unusual. That's not unusual for us. That's was not affected by COVID.
Very good. How about you, Erica? How are things shaping up for the first part of the fall, at least for CTM?
Yeah, unlike Young Shakespeare Players, our schedule's definitely shifted. Usually we announce the entire fall, winter, spring on the first day of summer stage. And this year we did not do that because we did not know what the summer would bring or the fall, etc. So right now we are in those discussions, like as we speak. I think I'm talking to my supervisor tomorrow about it. So we're still watching, waiting, listening, learning, and planning. But for sure we'll be doing something in the fall.
Great. And how about you, Susan?
We are in the process of putting our fall together. Like Erica said, normally we open the gates in June, late June, early July for our fall programs, and they fill really fast. But we're holding off because we're going to do a lot of virtual things. And quite honestly, a lot of parents don't even know what's going to happen with school yet, and they don't know their schedules. So we're going to wait for a little bit and probably open things up in early August. That's sort of the plan right now. So we're in the process of making all kinds of plans, but nothing in person for the fall. There's so many unknowns right now that we were looking at doing some smaller things, but it just, I hesitate to do that because we put so much time and effort into making those plans, and then the plug may be pulled and we may be doing only virtual. So we're just going to go ahead and put our thought process into planning virtual things for the kids.
You know, it's been really fascinating having these conversations every week, especially over the last couple of months when we've been talking with a lot of folks who, you know, everyone working in the arts, but in very different aspects, you know, opera and symphony and visual art and youth theater, and seeing all the similarities that we all share in adapting to COVID and the uncertainty and the contingency plans and the flow charts, dear God, and all of that, but then also really learning the individual things within each of these genres that, you know, all of you working in youth theater have considerations that I don't have to deal with working in, you know, adult theater. Are there things that you wish people listening knew about what it takes to put your work together, to put your productions together?
I guess sometimes it's difficult to explain to parents that the tuition that we charge is not just about the hours we spend with their children. It is really about everything that we do. It is about all the planning and the preparation and all the materials we use and the overhead costs of maintaining all of the operational costs. So everything's built into that tuition price. It's not just a matter of we're with your child for this X amount of time, you're paying for that time. So that's different. Most of our parents, when we explain that, are wonderful about it and are completely supportive, but they don't always think about it that way. And so educating them, educating any of our patrons to that, I think is important, and we often overlook that and forget that we do need to explain this. What we do is a lot more than just those 2 hours once a week that we're with your child.
Right. Erica, how about you?
I think for me, I would say, especially during COVID, is I wish that people knew that theater can still happen over Zoom. I guess that's my, you know, to take a chance. You know, like Susan said, you know, there is tuition. We also offer payment plans and financial assistance on a sliding scale. So we really want to make it accessible for all. We also acknowledge that this medium can be prohibitive for some students who don't have internet access. I just acknowledge that too. So it's certainly not perfect. However, you know, the amount of creativity, ingenuity, research, planning that our teaching artists do is breathtaking. It's stunning. And what we can offer during these times is incredibly magical. And I believe in the transformative power of theater for young people, which is why I'm in the role I'm in. And I believe that there's no time like now to invest in the arts, to give your student this opportunity to connect in a time that can be isolating. So take a chance at, you know, these companies, support local artists and arts organizations, and who knows, we could just transform your child's life.
Oh, beautiful. Zoe or Seamus, is there anything you'd like people to know about the work that you're doing?
Well, one thing that I think is very different in youth theater from other forms of theater, that might be obvious, but I've been thinking about it a lot lately, is that the performance is not the only goal. And we've been looking a lot at what's our performance going to look like. Will we even be able to perform for the families of our kids? But a lot of the importance of what we're doing happens in rehearsals, in spending time together and getting to do the stuff we do every day. So even whatever happens with the performance, I'm glad, and I'm sure everyone at YSP and in all of these programs is glad that we've been able to get together and do this in some form this summer. It's
Wonderful.
so important.
That's so great. Scott, hello.
Hi. I only reserve my appearance when I find a question that I'm really excited about. And this one, as a parent, I feel like is actually, I know we're kind of at the end of our time, but this is a really great talking point. I believe this is Charlotte's mom. I think this is actually Samara. But this is a really wonderful idea about bringing virtual arts into school this upcoming year, if indeed we are going virtually.
Yeah.
Yes, how do we make that happen?
I know we have a lot of kids.
I can speak a little bit to that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Here, Zoe and Erica.
I know we have a lot of kids at Young Shakespeare Players that are homeschooled that do a lot of theater during the school year, and that's a really important part of their schooling.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Erica, go ahead.
So I think something that's really beautiful about theater in schools is just from an accessibility standpoint. So students are in schools, so that means all students have access to these programs. So with CTM, we have our Young Playwrights program, which we do at local middle schools and high schools. And we also have our student matinee programs. We are looking, we haven't announced our season yet, but we're looking at many different models and already talking to educators about Young Playwrights and about student matinees to see how these could be adapted, because we agree, we want theater to be in schools as well and accessible to all students, and CTM wants to be a part of making that happen. And now, you know, we're very conscious of budgets for the schools and time considerations for the schools and accessibility. Are we able to even to do synchronous programs, or does it have to be asynchronous? So all these questions, and of course, teachers aren't aware yet of when budgets are coming out. So we're weighing all of these things, but I do agree with the sentiment, and I'm very hopeful that CTM can continue to be in the schools next year in whatever iteration that takes.
Yeah. Hallelujah.
We're looking as well into doing some really new and creative things, especially with video workshopping with kids that can be brought into a classroom to share some things, including working with puppets and doing a lot more work in puppetry and pulling that in. So rather than seeing this as a time of difficulty, it's becoming a time of new options, and we're excited about it.
Fantastic. Well, unsurprisingly, this was a great conversation. It was so nice to talk with all of you, Erica and Zoe and Susan and Seamus. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your work with youth and training up the future theater artists and audiences that we get to benefit from at Forward. I'm really grateful to you for your time. I'm grateful to everyone who's listening live and anyone who checks this out later on. And please join us next week for another Theater Forward conversation.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thanks
for
everyone.
having us.